Why did you pick El Salvador of all the places in the world to move to? I get that a lot. And we looked at many states in the United States that would be easy for a Canadian to move to, right? Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, Oklahoma, Georgia, Florida, even New Hampshire. And then we went a little further south. How about Mexico, Panama, Nicaragua, Costa Rica? My husband's from Europe. How about we pick Portugal? We looked all over and explored all those options before we picked El Salvador. But none of them checked off all the boxes. And the biggest box to check was freedom and security. Those are kind of intertwined. And the next box was the future of our children. We need a place where they would be safe and have a future. And for sure that isn't Canada, nor a lot of the United States, and definitely not Europe. We just want the government to leave us alone, and we want them to stop stealing our money and just let us raise our kids in peace. So where did we end up choosing? The only country that is actually possible, and that is El Salvador. Maybe your country isn't looking like sunshine and roses either, and maybe you're looking for a plan B country. Let me share with you the real El Salvador from a foreigner's perspective. And let's talk about the cost of living here. Buenas tardes, mis amigos, y bendiciones para todos ustedes. Good afternoon, my friends, and blessings to you all. Bienvenido a mi canal if you're new here, and bienvenido de nuevo if we're already old amigos. 11 months ago, we left the Montreal airport with 3 cats, 3 kids, 5 backpacks, 2 carry-ons, 10 big suitcases, and a 20-foot shipping container, not exactly at the airport, of our most prized possessions. And everyone called us loco. All I can say is that for us, staying in Canada would be loco, would be muy loco. Due to the rising cost of living, government interference in regular civilians' lives, especially through taxation slavery, and the culture shock that Canada's experienced over the last 15 years. It wasn't safe to stay there. We would have been crazy to stay there. Let's talk about the people and the culture of El Salvador. There was something that I noticed about the people of El Salvador the first day that we were driving around on our scouting trip, but it's become really obvious since we started acclimatizing to the culture here. In 2023, we called it the hustle, not the dance. We told everyone that when we were driving around, there are literally people everywhere trying to sell you stuff from like a bottle of water and snacks to like baby mats and mosquito tennis rackets and everything in between. Those people had hustle. In Canada, when people come to your car, they usually have their hand out and expect you to give them money for no good or no service. Canadians have no hustle. Last week, I found out that our little community here has a WhatsApp group just for the community. Now, there were Facebook groups I'd seen before, like a buy and sell, but they're not very active. So it wasn't really that exciting. But when I got added onto this WhatsApp group, now everything's changed. And yes, you can use that group to sell your furniture or try to rehome your pets, which I've done. Tried to rehome my pets. I've not actually rehomed. I still got 2 kittens left. But that's not all. Like, that's a minority of what this group is being used for. There are people literally running their own businesses through this WhatsApp group. They have a home restaurant, or they have a complete online store that they're running through the WhatsApp group, probably Facebook Marketplace as well, but definitely because they're in our community, they're focusing on our community, is really amazing. Now, I've seen a few things in our community when walking around. Like, we have a legitimate community store at the corner that my kids go to all the time for snacks. But one time, my daughter went there to get me some Vicks Vapor Rub to keep the mosquitoes away, and they told her that they didn't have it there, they had it, it was in the pharmacy. And the pharmacy, she explained where that was, and we're like, I didn't know there was a pharmacy in this complex. Like, what the heck? So when I was driving around one time, I saw the little building where she had described where it was, and somebody just literally took their garage, put some glass, like glass doors and glass windows, and you could see through the window there's a counter, and there was stuff there, and I guess that's where the Vicks was. Probably Tylenol, I don't know what sort of prescription medication they would have there, but pharmacy type things are being sold there. And when we were out at our friend's house for the fireworks, on their street, I walked by another garage that had all windows on it, and I saw like stacks of toilet paper, paper towel and stuff in the corner. I'm like, oh, they must be selling this out of their house. And then another time I was walking around our community for a walk one night, and I saw another one. They turned the garage basically into a storefront, and there's a sign on the door even said they do photocopies. So people here know how to hustle. Maybe that's where the term side hustle comes from for the people of El Salvador, because they are definitely the ones who know how to hustle around here. And these kind of things are everywhere, not just in our little community. They're all over El Salvador. In Canada, if you want to open and run a small business, the Canadian government puts so many roadblocks in the way all the time. And then they freeze your bank account and steal all your money. But enough about me. Here you can open up whatever you want, whenever you want. I have no idea what official paperwork people are going through to officially claim this income on their taxes. If they're doing it at all, I have no idea. When we started our business here, we did all the official paperwork and have taxes that we have to file every month, even though we don't do any business. These are nil tax returns we have to do every month to be a legitimate small business here. Especially as a foreigner, we're not going to do anything that's against the government. But I don't know what the other people are doing here. If they just open these businesses and they have a full-time job and they're like running their little store in the evenings, I have no idea what they're doing exactly, but people here know how to hustle. And when we set up our small business here, we used Escape from El Salvador before their founder, Jeremy, escaped from El Salvador. But the process of setting up a small business is not hard, and it can be used for your residency. If you're coming in as a foreigner, you can open up a business to get your temporary residency. And if anyone's interested in doing that, I have a couple of contacts of people that could help you with that. So we're going to be moving next weekend, and I was thinking on the day that we moved, it would be great if I could find a place that could get us a nice meal, not too expensive, not just pizza, but just a nice meal to feed all the people that are going to be helping us move, whether it's us and their housekeeper and our painter and maybe the movers or any friends that come over. I thought it'd be great to be able to get a really nice meal for everyone. So I saw on this WhatsApp group, a lady posted the menu for the day, and she had chicken and beef. And when I contacted her, she said she was all out of the beef, but she could do the chicken. And it was a nice chicken thigh with a little bit of rice, a little bit of salad, and a drink for $3.50. So I picked out one for me, the housekeeper, Annika, and Lawrence. Willem's in school until 6 o'clock, so he's already at school when we're eating our lunch at home. And I gave her, and it was 50 cents to deliver it, so I just gave her $15 to make it easier, for feeding 4 people. Now, can you imagine, that was actually very delicious. So if I get that for 10 people at $3.50 a piece, that's $35 feeding 10 people. But that's crazy. $35.50 for the delivery. That's still crazy. You can't do this in Canada. You can't do this in the United States. It's just too expensive. And people do this all over the place. I'm sure if you live in El Salvador and anywhere in your local community, you have people that are doing these side hustles as well. They are everywhere. People here know how to work to support their families in El Salvador. Many people ask me about the local job market here if they're thinking about moving. And I tell them, don't come here to take jobs away from locals, but come here to make your own business so you can employ locals. And it can also be used for your residency permit, like I said. And there are just so many opportunities here. Like, I know one of the questions was, is it all saturated now? Like, no, there are just so many opportunities here to do that. Or you can just come here and retire, or be a little bit like us and be a little bit in between. A little bit of retirement, but we're going to start our own business. So there's a whole mix of ways you can come here. There's probably 26 ways to get a visa to come to the country, but you got to have the mindset of the hustle if you want to really acclimatize into the Salvadoran culture. The cost of living. I know I always say this is my most dreaded part of the video because I have so much work to do to prepare these numbers, but it's looking pretty good this month, I have to say. So from June 20th to July 20th, and if you're new to this series, I started the 20th because we moved here August 20th, so I've been doing them every month, the 20th to the 20th, so just so you understand. For our rent, plus the $35 security, it's $600. Our electricity bill last month was $94.57. Our water was $2.96. Our drinking water, approximately $50. Cooking gas, now I didn't have to buy another tank, but I just finished one the other day, so for this month I will have to buy another one. Those are usually $12, so that's very inexpensive. Internet is $32.98, and I finally figured out why sometimes it was 36 or something? Why sometimes it was more, sometimes it was less? This is really stupid. Because I paid it late. I didn't realize, because I usually just get like a text message around the first of the month. I don't know the due date, like if it's due like within 5 days or 7 days. I don't have no idea. So I'll be like, oh, I didn't pay the internet. I'm going to go pay the internet. And when I pay late, is a $4 late fee. So that is why sometimes it was $36.98 and sometimes it was $32.98. That's why. It's my stupidity. That's why. Now I'm trying to remember to do it on the first of the month. You know, I got to put something in my calendar to make me remember that. But that's why. Cell phones. This month I had Willem on the $12 plan and Annika. And then Lawrence, I got him 2 plans. One was like a $2 one and one was $2.10. I don't know why it was a little bit more of that next time. And one for me is $15. That's $43.10. And for groceries, we had no Price Mart trip this month. It was only Maxi Despensa or the Familia Despensa Don Juan, I think it's called. So that's $307.84. For donations, I was at the Bitcoin Farmers Market. I did a little short video there with the vet on the road, and they were doing a fundraiser with these comic books of these chuchos that they rescued from the beach. So I gave her $15 for those comics. For school, that's our bus, which is $72.50. Plus, I ordered some Spanish cheat sheets from Amazon in Canada that my husband would be bringing back. So that's $89.72. For eating out, it was $330.18. Entertainment was $37.31, and that's my Amazon Prime, Netflix, and a trip to Thermos del Rio for a day we played hooky with the kids when our friend was visiting. So our household goods, this is a little bit high this month, but I'll explain. $589.99. So 100 of that is for a housekeeper because there were 4 Mondays in the month. 15 was for the gardener, and 20 was for a Spanish app that I bought called Practica. So I'll talk about that a little bit in the next section when we talk about the language. And the rest is Temu order stuff I'm getting ready for our move, new bedding and different things for when we move to our new house next week. For transportation, also kind of high, $440.27. Let me explain. 110 was for a set of new speakers I got because our speakers were busted in the car when we got it. The guy had the stereo up way too high. It was, even at 1, it was so loud, it was scaring me and the kids in the car when the GPS was telling us the directions. So it was up way too high, and he busted his very nice speakers. So I bought the speakers and the headlights. Those are $90. $25 to install the speakers. There was $100 for a second car key because I only ever had one car key. I also got a wiper blade fixed on my car, which I got totally ripped off on. That does happen here. And 2 fill-ups with gas. One was like at the beginning of like the June 20th mark, and one was just recently because I told you guys I didn't need to fill up last month. Well, I need to fill up like the day after I did this video. For medical, we're at $53. That's $40 for Willem's braces because every month we go in to get his braces adjusted. It's $40, and $13 for me for my allergy medicine for the month. That's a month's worth of allergy medicine, by the way. If you wanted to know that, I got it at San Nicolas. I got a discount there, really good price. For pets, that actually is a bunch of flea collars I ordered from Amazon.ca that my husband will be bringing back with him because it is literally impossible to find flea collars in this country. I did see like one Facebook Marketplace ad one time, but at pet stores and stuff, they don't seem to sell them. So there are fleas here. So need flea collars. That's $76.64 for a total of $2,763.56. That's a little bit less than last month, huh? Considering all those extra expenses with the car and the household stuff, that was actually pretty good. So next month we're moving again. I'm getting a little tired of moving. This is the last one for a very long time, I assure you. So we'll have our moving expenses there because we're paying movers to come move all this furniture. We're also going to have someone paint the house, so I got to pay for the paint and the labor and just anything like I'm going to get another bed for our extra bedroom, just different things you want to get when you get into a new house, right? Just stuff, I know. Also, we're going to hook up our internet over there, so I don't know if there's a fee for that because they have Tigo, we have Tigo, so I honestly don't know what you have to hook up. Can I just take my router and bring it over there and then they switch something in the back end, say this account is for this and this account's for that, and maybe some telecom person can tell me how that works exactly, but I have Tigo, they have Tigo, and we're just swapping houses. It's the simplest thing ever. Yeah, so next month is going to be a little bit more expensive, and next month is my 12-month review of living in El Salvador with everything that's happened in the year plus our expenses for the whole year. I'm going to try to do the 12th month and do the whole year. It's going to probably be a long video, but I'm going to try to talk about how much it actually has cost us to be here for the entire year. That doesn't include all the costs we have in Canada, by the way. Like, we still have a house in Canada. There's still utilities going on in Canada. There's lights, there's natural gas, there's car insurance because our cars are still there. Like, there's just stuff going on there that we have that is still being paid for too and still sold. So this is actually way cheaper than that, if you can imagine. Even with nobody living in our house in Canada, the expenses we pay in Canada are more expensive, including our mortgage, whatever payments, than we're paying here. Mind-blowing. Next up is the food. So I've been speaking about getting these inexpensive meals from our little WhatsApp group, and having them delivered right to your door, just like any other take-a place, is amazing. And you're supporting your neighbors and the community in that. So that chicken we had, that was amazing. I definitely will be ordering that again. She also does beef. If I contact her early enough in advance to let her know how many we're doing, then I can make sure we have it. And I just did another one yesterday with a lady. She had a little menu up in the day, and I didn't contact her until a little bit later, like 1:30 or something. So she'd already sold out of something. So I just told her, first I said, just give me one of everything on her menu, which would have only been $8.50. Like, it was really inexpensive. And then when she was missing some of the items, I said, okay, just give me 2 of whatever you have, right? So she sent that over, and they're considered snack foods, like they're little trays. A lot of it had yuca in it. Some had yuca that was sort of mashed and then had a fried coating, like a pierogi. That's what my kids said, they're like pierogis. Another one had a bit of a softer coating, and it had a black sauce with it. It was almost like a sweet sour, almost like a sweet and sour rib sauce. And then there was one, there were mashed yuca, and then there's a little baggie with this red sauce. And then inside the red sauce had little bits of fish, because she did say something about fish. I'm looking, I see no fish. It was inside the little red bag. And that came with cortito. One of the other ones came with cortito. And then there was these other empanadas that were different. She said one was milk and one was frijoles. And she gave me one of each one, and I had one of each. So it was actually all delicious. I got to say, there was nothing there that I didn't like. It was $9 and it was 50 cents for delivery. I mean, even when I get a pizza, the Pedidosia app, I give the guy $1.99 as a tip to drive it over here. Of course, he's not in the neighborhood. He's coming from afar. And those motorcycles, I don't know. These guys live a dangerous life, because driving a motorcycle in this country is taking your life in your hands. And there was another one I wanted to order from. He had the traditional chicken sandwiches, which they usually have at Christmas time here. But he was all out by the time I reached him yesterday. So I will try that eventually. It looked like you get a couple sauces with it, so I don't know if there's a drink or anything involved. But I'm going to try them all out. Whoever puts up a menu, I'm going to give it a try. Because even the lady yesterday, I said, we're new to El Salvador, and I just want to try all the local foods, which is true. I do want to try all the local foods. So we order from Little Caesars because my kids love pizza, and they're not that expensive. But it would be great if we don't have to order from, Americanized chains, and we help support the local community. So I'm so happy to have found that WhatsApp group. It was actually our new landlord told me about the WhatsApp group. I'm like, oh, I didn't know we had one. So it's not like when you come to the community and say, welcome to the community, here's all the things you need to know, including here's the WhatsApp group. So I don't know, I guess you just got to talk to your neighbors, and they're like, oh yeah, there's a WhatsApp group, we'll add you, right? So that's what happened. So I end up in this group, and there are some other stuff that, there's one girl running a whole online store there that has all these things that I think you probably get at one of those China Depot or Casa Depot things. Yeah, it's sort of like one of those stores. She's just selling all kinds of stuff, some mugs and pillows and makeup and just tons of stuff. People really are hustling here. They're really ingenious here with their business ideas. Safety and security. I want to share a little story because I didn't know about this. It wasn't well advertised, but I found out about it from somebody who's going to be moving here. They are Salvadorian. And of course, it was on a YouTube channel that was all in Spanish, so I had to watch it with the subtitles to get the gist of it, what was going on. And, people, I know there's lots of mixed feelings about what Bukele did to get rid of the gangs. Actually, I don't even know why there's mixed feelings now that I think about it, because there are these people out there that think the prisoners have these human rights that are being violated. And they seemingly forget that the other 6 million people in the country also have human rights that were being violated. I don't know how they must have some cognitive dissonance in there, like they have a split mind, because how can you say the prisoners have human rights, but the victims don't have human rights? It's a little bit baffling to me. So I'm just going to say that the crackdown on gangs has not stopped. And I'm going to share this little story so you understand. I heard a story this month about 46 to 48 students. Now, 34 of them were over 18 and the rest were minors. They were trying to restart a gang here in El Salvador, and they were all arrested. Children are not immune. In fact, it was in the school system that a lot of the gang activity got initiated, with kids as young as 4 years old, from what we heard from our neighbors here, getting 4-year-olds to sell drugs. Yeah. We don't want that to happen again. We don't want that in our schools. These are not light crimes either that these children were arrested for. I'll read them off here. An illicit association, so that's being part of a gang. Sexual content offenses. Threats against the teachers. Conspiracy to murder police officers. Counterfeiting and currency tampering. These are kids in school. It's crazy. So under Bukele, no gangs will be reforming in this country. Children are not immune, like I said. They will be picked up and arrested if they try to do this. I assume some of these kids were given guidance by either older relatives that are part of a gang, or they themselves already had some affiliation, but they were never rounded up in the first rounds of gang roundups. So this is what makes this place so secure. This is what makes it so anyone can start a business from their home without fear of having the gang members come and extort them for, some security money. Make sure your little store doesn't burn to the ground kind of thing, right? In Canada, it wasn't safe to go out at night, especially in big cities like Ottawa, Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto. I would definitely not be walking anywhere around there at night, for sure. Even the daytime is sketchy. Even in little towns like ours, our town had 9,500 people. And we weren't even in the town. We were actually outside the town in the rural area. But the town had so many drug busts and different things going on. And they just issued warrants to search premises where they're now finding pieces of Robbie Thompson, who's been missing since 2023, I believe. It isn't safe. There are biker gangs out there. I think that's how Robbie Thompson got mixed up and ended up being dismembered. But it's just not safe. It isn't safe in Canada. There are so many things, even in the little town, in the rural area, it isn't safe. And maybe one day I'll talk about our personal encounter with some sketchy stuff there. Maybe another video I'll have for that. What I found out around 2018 or so is that where we were, that was the corridor for sex trafficking between Toronto and Montreal. This is where they brought kids through to traffic. Sex trafficking, missing persons, and an abundance of money laundering and other gang activity, especially related to biker gangs. That's what happens in Canada. And nobody's rounding them up. Bukele's rounded up the bad people and keeping them in jail. In Canada, they put innocent people that start a peaceful trucker protest in jail. And they let the murderers and rapists go free to do the murdering and the raping again. I don't understand why people are confused about what human rights mean. They're for the humans. That's everybody. Victims included. And the people who commit crimes against other people should have fewer rights. This is why you go to jail. You get your rights taken away. Canada isn't safe. They don't understand that concept, but they do in El Salvador. El Salvador is safe. I expect that I will be taken care of here because the government puts the bad people in jail. Very simple. Adjusting to the language. So I mentioned last month that we had a couple people reach out to us to tutor us, me and the kids in Spanish. And that didn't get to work out as we'd hoped because she was actually starting it when she was on her summer break, and then school starting. She actually had orientation, different things. So she could only meet with my kids once a week on Saturdays, and that just isn't enough for what they need right now. So who's going to teach my kids Spanish? Me. I'm going to teach my kids Spanish. Crazy, I know. I'm going to basically reverse the lessons I do for teaching my kids English on the weekends because I have to translate a bunch of stuff into Spanish to teach them. I'm going to do it in reverse to teach my kids Spanish. Also, the teacher that we had given us a bunch of material. So I'm going to use her material, and then I'm going to continue on with my own material. Plus, like I said, I ordered those sort of Spanish cheat sheets. They're like, there's 6 papers, and they're laminated, and they just fold them together like a little booklet. And I think I got 3 of them. One's vocabulary and phrases and, I don't know, conjugation of verbs or something like that. I forget which ones I ordered. So my husband will be bringing that. So we'll be using those. Plus we watch some videos in Spanish. We try to bring everything in. So I got the kids to write stuff and to read stuff and to listen to stuff and, and lots of repeating. So they learn how to say it correctly. I just had to be a couple of lessons ahead of them. I'm actually noticing for myself, my Spanish is getting a lot better, especially, I don't know about the speaking part, but definitely the understanding part. Because we had these meetings at the kids' schools, which is one thing that President Bukele also has done, and mainly focusing on what his wife has done, because she's in with psychology and stuff, and she's going after changing the future of the children here in the country and using her psychology background to help with the curriculum and stuff for the schools, as well as these parent meetings that we're having. I think there's 6 for the year. I don't know if we had 3 or 4 of them already, but we just had one last week when I got Willem's report card, and that one was all about teen suicide. And of course, the whole thing's in Spanish. It's just me with my Google Translator, which honestly does a really poor job sometimes. This doesn't make any sense as I'm reading that's not what she said. So there's words I'm just picking up on. They had stuff on the board, and I'd taken a picture of it and translated. I knew it was about suicide. I knew it was about risk factors and different things. They even did the little case study about, they gave an example of this girl and her behavior had been changing. And, then they asked this question. So what would you think would be a risk of suicide? And then people gave answers. We even had to write down what we're grateful for on paper, and they put it up, and I had to speak it out loud. So that was really fun. I said mine in English, and then I kind of just said part of it in Spanish afterwards. And everyone clapped, which is nice. Everyone clapped when everyone got up and spoke. And even though I was the odd one out, everyone clapped for me too. Anyway, that was fun. I'm learning a lot more just by being immersed in it. Gives me lots of people to talk to, whether it's texting with these food orders and different things on this WhatsApp group, or talking about getting the internet changed over. I had to reach out to Tigo, and then I'm like, does anyone speak English? No? Okay, let me keep translating. And eventually you just pick up on the words, or you understand them, you recognize them. Maybe you get the verb, but you don't know the conjugation for the pronoun you're trying to use. It's okay. I know when we used to have so many people from every culture live with us. Our neighbors used to call us the United Nations because we were taking in international students since before we had kids of our own. We've been doing this since 2006. We've had international students live with us. So we've had people come from every walk of life, every culture, every language. And we were always trying to teach them a little bit of English, even though they were learning it in school, or some of them were taking private courses, whatever. But yeah, we were always trying to give them the gist of the English language. So now sort of people are trying to help us with the gist of the Spanish. Although for me, I'm thinking I'm getting a little bit better than the gist now. So I think I can help with the kids. I mean, I'll learn it and I'll teach it to them. And then, like I said, I downloaded that app Practica. Actually, I found that was really helpful to be speaking to this AI, and it's all talking. So when I did Duolingo, there's a lot of typing and stuff, and I did learn a lot through Duolingo. Just it's too freaking woke. I didn't want to support them again with my money because, you vote with your wallet and these type of things. So I thought, let me go to Practica. Let me try it out. And I bought it for the year. It's only $20. So it's way cheaper than Duolingo. And I will get it for the kids later on too, but we'll just keep doing what we're doing now. And everyone will catch on. It's a work in progress, right? We've only been here almost a year. Kids have only been in school for, 6 months, 7 months now. So we'll be catching on. Willem's doing okay in his classes. I did learn, though, I didn't understand this from the time. Some of his classes, scores are 1 to 5. And, I thought, okay, 1 to 5. Okay, so 3 is like the pass mark, right? No, it's not. I found out 3 is a fail. You have to have a 4 or a 5. So he had a 3 in a couple of his extra modules for accounting that he's taking. And then the other ones are graded like 1 to 10. And 5 also is not a pass. It has to be at least a 6. So I think Lawrence had a 5 and Willem had a 5. Willem actually didn't have a 5 last report card. He has a 5 in that one now for like this one is in science. So, my kids are catching on. Even if they had to repeat this grade, our goal this year was for them to focus on learning the language and making some friends. Because I noticed that they're probably the youngest kids in all their classes. For their classes, usually the kids are a little older, at least a year, if not more in some cases. So it's okay. If they have to do it again, we're good with that, And then they'll have university, college, whatever they want to do afterwards. They have their whole lives ahead of them. This country has so many opportunities for them for the future. Infrastructure and utilities. I want to talk a little bit here about power outages, just because that may be a concern to people. I know some people have asked me questions like, do you always have power? Like, yes, we always have power. Let me explain what happens during a typical power outage here. I'll be watching a YouTube video and the power will go out. And the video will keep playing for whatever amount of time YouTube has buffered that video. And then by the time the video stops, the power has come back on, and now I need to wait for the router to reset. Like, they're usually like a minute, 2 minutes. I don't even know if it's ever went 5 minutes, except for one time when we had the landslides at the Los Chorros Highway and they were putting in those shipping containers. They had like a planned power outage for the day to take down the lines from one end and move it or something like that during the highway construction phase. So that was a planned power outage, and I think it started around 8 in the morning, went to like 4 or something like that. And that was it. And so the other 98, 99% of the time, it's usually during like a storm. There'd be like high winds or whatever. And I mean high winds. Like, we had lots and lots of stuff blowing around here the other day. Just wind gushing through the house. It was quite amazing, actually. It feels like so refreshing. But during those times, I guess the lines are swaying, or maybe there's branches coming off trees and knocking into them. I don't know. It doesn't last very long. Whereas in Canada, you get like a bad winter storm and you could have power gone for hours and hours and hours. So, and I know because I still get text messages from Hydro One saying, oh, we realize the power's out in your area and we hope to have it back on by whatever time, right? So I feel like we actually have fewer power outages here than in Canada. Now, all that being said, our friend was visiting a couple weeks ago, and in their Airbnb, I guess during one of these storms or whatever, either the power line got snapped or something fell on it or something like that. Something happened to the pole. So they actually lost power for several hours one day. So that's not typical. Like I said, we've not even had, we've been here almost a year and haven't had that. So power is really good here. So as far as infrastructure and utilities, I give it A+ over Canada. And I'm not even sure why that is, because it doesn't look like it's necessarily better structure or whatever, but it just doesn't seem to go out as long here, or they're faster to fix it. One or the other. Reflecting on our journey. One thing I tell people about one of the biggest differences I see about living in Canada versus living in El Salvador is that there is no drug use here. And if it is, it's very well hidden since Bukele put the gangs away. I mean, you see news clips all the time of Bukele interdicting a shipment from Colombia going to the States of cocaine or whatever, and then they set it on fire, and then he arrests the people from the boat. You see that all the time. So you know that it's a big offense to do drugs around here. I remember we had this guy live with us very briefly, and he was homeless at the time, but one of the places he lived before was like an upstairs of an apartment building, and he said the neighbors down below were always smoking marijuana. It was going into his unit through the vent system. Called the police, and they're like, oh, there's nothing you could do because marijuana smoking is legal. He's like, yeah, but I don't want it in my house. They're like, can't do anything about that. So you end up leaving. And you don't have that here. You don't have people walking down the streets smoking a joint. It's not Canada. Actually, you can't even have CBD oil in the country. If you're like a traveler, do not bring CBD oil in your bag or you could find yourself in trouble. Okay? Just don't do that. And you don't smell marijuana. Like, you don't walk by someone's house, you're like, oh, there must be smoking pot in there. No, you don't smell it. At least I don't. I've not smelled it in at least 11 months. You also don't see people smoking cigarettes very often. As a matter of fact, the only people I do see smoking like on a regular basis would be expats, foreigners, basically. I got a little story to share. Last week we were at the Bitcoin farmers market trying to rehome our cute little kitties, and somebody there lit up a cigarette. Now I had kind of forgotten how much I absolutely detest cigarettes. Actually, in my team when I used to work for the government, I had a guy, a really young guy, I used to give him a hard time all the time because he'd be outside smoking. I'm like, what are you doing? You're ruining your life. I really hate cigarettes. I have asthma. Most of my family were smoking as I grew up. I had very bad asthma. Oh, side note, I'm going to share about asthma in this country. I take 2 inhalers. My purple one, I think I've showed you guys in videos. That's one I take every day, and that is to prevent an asthma attack. The other one would be the Bricanol, this inhaler. This is my emergency inhaler. And I was just trying to remember this last night. When I came to here, I had one of these in my bag. I always have it on me. And it finished, and I opened up a second one. I don't know if, I must have, maybe I've opened one more. There's still 100 doses left on this one, so I only used, I think there's 120 doses. It says 120 doses right on it. And it says I have 100 left. I almost never use these. And I brought about a dozen of these with me because I kind of stockpiled. This is either my second or my third one in the year that I've been here. So I literally almost never use these because my asthma is so good now. I still take my preventative one every day. And I still have some coughing issues that I've had since 2018 when I had pneumonia. But it's definitely gotten better. I don't think it makes a difference dry season or rainy season, but I literally don't have asthma attacks where I need to take this inhaler anymore. So that was a side note about my health. But cigarettes really bother me. And as a kid, I had very, very, very bad asthma. And there's this guy at the farmer's market just lighting up a cigarette. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how dare you? We had perfectly good fresh sea air here at the Bitcoin farmer's market, and you're ruining it with your smoke. I got so mad I left. I just felt like, oh my gosh, how arrogant. I just felt like you entitled little words I wouldn't say on YouTube, but we left. I just couldn't stand the smell of it. And I'm thinking, wow, I haven't had such a visceral reaction to something in a long time, because in Canada, you were the minority, right? Well, it seemed like non-smokers were almost a minority. Probably it isn't, but there were still at least 40% smokers to the 60% was non-smokers out there. But here, it's not like that. There's like 0.1% of people here smoke. Now, I did see a couple of native people smoking. I mean like native Salvadorians. When we went to do the headlights the first time with Chino and his crew at the car wash, there were 2 guys at the car wash who smoked. And when I was at the gas station the other day, last Saturday actually, there was a local person buying cigarettes. And I was like, oh, that's where you can buy them. Until that point, I wasn't sure if people actually bought the cigarettes because I don't see them for sale. And one market in Soyapango in January, somebody had in their little stall like 9 cartons of cigarettes. I'm like, oh, I guess you could buy cigarettes here. But I figured that's not like where most people buy their cigarettes. So now I know you can get them at gas stations if you're a smoker. But I mean, I hated cigarettes all my life, and even my kids too. I think I've well indoctrinated them into being non-smokers, because we used to have a neighbor come to visit us, quite often, and she would live across the street, and every time she'd be coming, my daughter would say, "There comes the smoker." We'd all have a good laugh at that one, because we were trying to get our neighbor there to quit for a long time, but and she was on and off quitting. But anyway, you don't see that here. Cigarettes are not a thing. I don't have to worry about my kids being indoctrinated into smoking in, high school or something like that. It's not a thing here. And the other thing is, there are no tent encampments here. Now, I'm sure there's homeless people, because, there's a lot of poverty still, but there's no tent cities. There's no, like, parks that are just all tents where people are claiming that as their space and it's their home. It doesn't work like that here at all. And the other thing I can say that you don't see here is you don't walk down the street and trip over dirty needles or other paraphernalia related to injecting drugs into your body or smoking drugs or whatever garbage is on the street. There may be garbage on the street, that happens, but it's not dirty needles. It's not something you're scared your kids are going to get stabbed with and get some hepatitis or something worse. When I ask myself, did I do the right thing? Am I giving my kids a future, freedom and safety, my 3 key goals of leaving Canada? It's like 110% yes. I made the right choice, because Canada doesn't have those, and El Salvador does. So if you were thinking maybe you want to protect your kids too and give them a future with safety and freedom, maybe consider El Salvador too. There's lots of opportunities here, and the country is amazing, with great people, great food, and great weather. No snow. So thank you all for joining us on this journey. Again, I do these monthly. Next month is our big 12 months. It'll be the 12th month plus the whole year review, all kinds of different video clips and stuff. It's going to be a really good video. I'm hoping to gather all the fun stuff we've done over the last year of living in El Salvador and how much did it really cost us to move our family from Canada to here. If you're thinking about doing it the way we did it, shipping containers are expensive. You might want to watch that video before making that commitment. But otherwise, how much did it really cost us? And I mean, there's a financial cost, there's other costs, but I think we did the right thing for our family and our future. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and you can also become a member of our channel. We have like a small fee for that membership. And also, we do our weekly meeting on Mondays at 7 p.m. The Google Meets link is in the description. You can just add it to your calendar, just copy the link code, put it on your calendar. Monday nights, El Salvador time. You want to join us, ask questions. We just hang out. We just have a fun time, chill. People ask questions. We answer to the best of our ability. There are more than just us that are living here that are on that call that can answer from different perspectives. And we just have a really good time. And if you want to join our WhatsApp community, send me your WhatsApp information in an email to youtube@haganars.com and I will add you to our WhatsApp group. And then you can then just text questions if you like. But we use Google Meets for the meeting on Monday and we use WhatsApp for just texting throughout the week. So if you want to join our little community, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you. If you have any questions, don't forget to put those in the comments. I read every one of them. And see you in the next one.
Don't forget to hit the like button.